The first cool front of the late summer, and someone's going to make it into the 50s tonight. Let's talk about who in this edition of the Texas Weather Roundup. Good morning. It is Monday, the 14th of August, 2023. I'm Texas Storm Chasers Boldy-in-Chief David Reimer as we now approach and pass the climatological peak of our summer season. Hopefully, that means temperatures will start beginning a slow decline as we head towards the end of August into September. Of course, we all know that's not going to really happen and that we're still going to have plenty of summer days left, but also, coincidentally, we have a cold front to talk about today, and that means some folks are actually not going to get out of the 70s today, with temperatures tonight dropping into the 50s and 60s, which, I don't know about you, but that sounds pretty darn nice to me right now. I'll talk about who's going to get it and who's not even going to see a drop of rain or a drop in the temperatures. All right, first off, let's pop on over to take a look at the wildfire outlook. Regardless of any sort of cold front mischief, we are not done with wildfires by any sort or stretch of the imagination. Now, we are going to see a comparatively lower threat for wildfires today across the Texas Panhandle. Hint, that's who's going to get a cold front today. With some cloud cover, lower temperatures, that'll keep the overall wildfire threat low there today. The rest of us, yeah, guess what? We're still going to have a high to very high wildfire threat. Tomorrow into Wednesday, same thing. The entire state's going to be under a moderate to a very high threat for wildfires come Wednesday, and that'll only increase back up into the extreme range by Thursday and Friday as the upper-level heat dome reestablishes its happy self over the state. Here's the forecast rain totals over the next 5 days. This is from 7 a.m. this morning through 7 a.m. Saturday. Well, that map's pretty blank. Map's got less color on it than I do hair on top of my head, which is pretty darn impressive, mind you. Some rain out in far west Texas in the borderland with some monsoonal flow, maybe a couple of showers in the Texas Panhandle. Otherwise, we're going to be dry. It's going to be drier than a popcorn fart, to be honest with you. But, I mean, what's new with that? It's been that way for weeks now across the state. All right, here's something we haven't shown in overly significant detail recently. Go ahead and start going into a little more meteorological mumbo jumbo. This is a look at the 500 millibar chart. This is about halfway up through the top of the atmosphere, about 18,500 feet above sea level typically. This is just a way to kind of take a look at the overall jet stream locations, the overall atmosphere as a profile. Upper level heat dome today located across the mid-south all the way into the Pacific Northwest where we have some very high temperatures. We have a couple upper level lows. One over Maine moving towards New Brunswick. Second, over to the upper Midwest. That'll bring chance for some severe storms later today across the Northeast and the Mid-Atlantic. And then we've got an upper level low sitting off the SoCal coast. That's bringing some precipitation chances to those folks. And then we have a little tropical mischief in the eastern Pacific that will have absolutely no influence on our weather. Here is tomorrow noon to 1 p.m. on Tuesday. You can see that upper level low across the upper Ohio Valley moving towards the northeastern United States, one way up in Canada. Tropical mischief, eastern Pacific. Upper level heat dome generally centered across the four corners with still it influencing our weather quite a bit. Here is Wednesday at noon, upper level low, kind of, it's really nebulous at this point across the southeast United States. Another pretty good little swing in the trough or the jet stream across southern Canada up in North Dakota. High pressure still over the four corners with its influence extending to the Pacific Northwest up towards southern Alaska and British Columbia. And then here's when we're going to start seeing that upper level high begin to reestablish itself dominantly over the state of Texas. Here's Thursday at noon, upper level low across the mid-lakes, the Great Lakes, the Midwest, SoCal coast, up into NorCal, upper level heat dome moving back east. And then here's Friday, big old upper low over the northeast United States, California getting in on some stormy action, and then a mean old hurricane across the eastern Pacific approaching Baja California. Meanwhile, over us, upper level heat dome, triple digit temperatures galore. And then here's Saturday, west coast of the United States, stormies galore, upper low over parts of Maine. What do we get? Upper level heat dome. Oh yeah, and there's a hurricane in the eastern Pacific. What's that translate to in our temperatures? Well, for one, we're not going to see any precip chances with that kind of a pattern because we're being influenced by the upper level heat dome, with the exception of today, where we've got a wee bit of a northwest flow, and that's allowed this cool front to push south into the state. And that means high temperatures today, 70s across the Panhandle, 80s in West Texas, 78 in Lubbock, 80. Or how about this? 78 in Amarillo, 85 in Lubbock, 86 in Childress. That's a good 20 to 25 degree temperature drop. 100 in Dallas, 101 in Fort Worth, 92 in Sherman, 92 in Wichita Falls. That beats the 110 plus we saw a couple days ago, and we'll see again in a couple days. 82 in Oklahoma City, and 96 in Abilene, 93 in Midland and Odessa. I mean, it beats 103 to 113. Southern half of Texas, yeah, y'all aren't going to be happy with me. I'm very sorry, but you don't get it this round. 106 in Austin, 104 San Antonio, 103 to 105 in Houston, 103 in Beaumont, 103 Corpus Christi, 103 in McAllen, upper 90s right along the Rio Grande Valley near the Gulf Coast. 105 in Lufkin, 104 in Tyler. Tonight, lows in the 50s in the Panhandle, 60s West Texas and Northwest Texas, with 70s everywhere else. Here's tomorrow. You can see, I mean, technically, kind of do shift that cool front a little further southeast. We don't see any more 70s on the map, but still 80s in the Panhandle, West Texas, 90s Northwest Texas, North Texas, Texoma, down into the hill country. You can see 95 in Dallas, which is about where we should be this time of year. 95 in Wichita Falls, 87 in Amarillo, 89 in Lubbock, 94 Midland and Odessa. Austin, this forecast has you at 101. If by chance we can just keep it at 99, that'll break the consecutive streak of doom, which has greatly surpassed that of 2011 at this point. And here we thought this summer couldn't be any worse than last summer of 2011. For folks across the southeastern half of Texas, this has been probably one of the worst summers on record, beating 1980 to 2011 and 2021 and 22, unfortunately. Just the way it is, unfortunately. Now, by Wednesday, unfortunately, because I've said unfortunately like 5 times in the last, 100 words, triple digits, pushing back north. Thursday, that's just not good. I think you can tell the heat dome comes back. 110 in Wichita Falls, 108 in Fort Worth, 106 in Austin, 106 in San Antonio, 102 to 104 in Houston, 104 in Corpus Christi, 102 in Tyler, 106 in Childress, 103 in Lubbock, 105 in Midland, 98 in Amarillo, which is actually about a 20-degree temperature drop compared to today and tomorrow. So now you see why I'm calling it a cold front, because technically it's a 20-degree drop. That's a pretty significant drop, especially for summer. And then here's Friday, 108 in DFW. Hopefully we're not getting closer to 110 with that, because that's just abhorrent. 108 in Wichita Falls, 104 in Childress, 106 in Abilene, 104 in Midland, 99 in both Lubbock and Amarillo, 104 in Tyler, 105 in Lufkin, 101 in Beaumont, 101 to 103 in Houston, 99 in Victoria, 102 in Corpus Christi, 102 in McAllen, 104 in San Antonio, 105 in Austin, 107 in both Corsicana and Waco for Friday. Saturday and Sunday are not going to be any better, unfortunately, with no rain chances in the forecast for the next 5 days. Couple things to note. Next week, it looks like the Atlantic Tropical Basin is going to get a little more active. It's been pretty quiet, but it looks like it's going to heat up next week. Nothing screaming any sort of hurricane mischief for the state of Texas at this point, but we are going to be keeping an eye on the Gulf of Mexico. There are some, and I want to emphasize some, indications in Weather Model Voodoo Land we may have at least a weak low pressure system try to develop in the Gulf. And if that occurs, yeah, there's a chance it could become tropical mischief. But at this point, we're not even seeing any sort of weather model data indicating, a super scary Cat 5 hurricane hitting New Orleans, which those of you who are weather weenies or followed these weather videos for years, or, just look at social media in the summer know, weather models in the long range tend to throw out worst case scenarios that scream catastrophe and doom and gloom. We're not even seeing that at this point, so I don't want to even go down the road of that. But again, if we do have some tropical mischief next week, that could mean 2 things. 1, it could bring rain chances, or 2, it could do something like we saw with Lee in 2011, go to our east and actually enhance the threat for higher temperatures and wildfires on the west side of any sort of low pressure system, with those northerly winds that ramp up. And we saw what happened in September of 2011, the 8th of September 2011. That was the Bastrop fire. the Northeast Texas Timber Complex, one of the worst wildfire outbreaks we've ever seen in the state. And then, of course, last week in Hawaii, that's what happened. They had a hurricane pass several hundred miles south of Hawaii. They ended up having north winds out of the northeast at about 40, 50, 60 miles an hour. No rain. Get that, combine it with Hawaii drought. There you go. Unfortunately, one of the worst wildfire disasters we've seen in the wildland-urban interface. So that's just something we'll keep an eye on. Not saying any of that's going to happen. I'm just saying it looks like we are going to be watching the tropics next week for any sort of mischief. Until then, more heat. Enjoy the cool down if you by chance are getting to do that over the next couple days. If not, I'm sorry. I'm just the messenger. Please don't hate me. But if you do, get in line. We'll talk to you all again tomorrow, 7 a.m. Tuesday for the next Texas Weather Roundup. Have a great day. God bless.